You do not fight winter. Not in Russia. Not across endless plains where the wind never stops moving and the cold feels alive. Not when temperatures fall so low that metal cracks, engines die, and even breath becomes visible proof that your body is struggling to survive. For centuries, armies learned this lesson the same way, by ignoring it. Napoleon Bonaparte marched into Russia in 1812 with over 600,000 men. He expected victory, speed, decisiveness. Instead, winter devoured his army. Frostbite took fingers, hunger took strength, cold took everything else. By the time he retreated, barely a fraction remained. That was the rule. Russia doesn't just fight you, it absorbs you. It stretches you across distances that feel impossible. And then, when you're weakest, winter finishes what the battlefield started. Every serious military mind knew this. Every officer who studied history understood it. Prepare for winter or be destroyed by it. But in 1941, one man believed he didn't need to follow that rule. Adolf Hitler dismissed winter warfare as irrelevant. His generals warned him. Logistics officers raised concerns about supplies, clothing, fuel. He ignored them. Because in his mind, the war would be over before winter even arrived.
It would be fast, absolute. And for a few terrifying months, it looked like he was right. You are General Heinz Guderian, 53 years old, precise, relentless, a man who believes war should move faster than the enemy can think. You helped create Blitzkrieg, lightning war, tanks, infantry, and aircraft moving together in perfect coordination. No pauses, no hesitation. You strike hard, you break through, and you never stop. On June 22nd, 1941, you unleash that doctrine on the Soviet Union. Operation Barbarossa. 3 million German soldiers surge forward, over 3,500 tanks, thousands of aircraft overhead. It is the largest invasion in human history. And it works. At first, it works perfectly. Soviet defenses collapse. Entire armies are surrounded and destroyed. Hundreds of thousands surrender. Cities fall one after another. Minsk, Smolensk, Kyiv. You advance sometimes 30 miles in a single day. Your tanks cut deep into enemy territory, encircling forces that never even see you coming. This isn't just victory. It feels like inevitability. By September, Moscow is within reach. And if Moscow falls, the Soviet Union might collapse entirely. That's what Berlin believes. That's what your men believe. But there's something else happening. Your supply lines are stretching. Fuel trucks struggle to keep up. Ammunition arrives late, or not at all. Your tanks are wearing down.
Men are exhausted. And then the rains come. The ground turns to mud. Not ordinary mud. This is thick, heavy, endless. Vehicles sink. Wheels spin uselessly. Tanks struggle forward inch by inch. Horses collapse, pulling supply wagons. Your advance slows, then nearly stops. Weeks pass, and while you wait, winter moves closer. You know it, your officers know it, but the orders don't change. Advance on Moscow, no matter what. October 1941, you launch the final push, Operation Typhoon. This is it, the decisive streak. The air is cold now, sharper than before. Every breath feels heavier. You push forward. At first, the pattern repeats. Soviet lines break, towns fall. Your panzers roll east again. Distance to Moscow, under 200 miles. Then, the temperature begins to fall. 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Engines struggle to start in the morning. Oil thickens, metal contracts. Small problems begin to stack into bigger ones. Your soldiers feel it first. Fingers go numb. Faces sting, then lose all sensation.
150 miles. 100 miles. 70 miles. You're close enough now that it feels real. Then winter arrives. Not gradually, all at once. -4 degrees, -20, -40. At these temperatures, exposed skin freezes in minutes. Your engines stop working. Fuel lines freeze solid. Batteries die in the cold. Tank turrets jam. Machine guns refuse to fire because their lubricants have turned to thick frozen paste. You order fires lit under engines just to get them running. Sometimes it works. Sometimes the sudden heat cracks the engine blocks. Your soldiers improvise. They wrap rags around their hands. They steal blankets from abandoned homes. They burn anything they can find. Furniture, doors, even parts of buildings, just to stay alive. But the Soviets? They are still moving. Fresh divisions arrive from Siberia. Soldiers trained for this exact environment. They wear thick, fur-lined uniforms. White camouflage blends them into the snow. They move on skis. You watch them glide across frozen terrain while your men struggle to walk. And then they attack. Artillery erupts through the silence of the snow. Mortars rain down. Infantry appears out of blizzards you can barely see through. You try to respond, but your weapons fail. Rifles jam. Tanks won't turn. Radios die.
You are fighting an enemy you can't see, in conditions you can't survive, with equipment that no longer works.
There will be no retreat.
Distance to Moscow, 40 miles. 30 miles. Some of your forward units can see the outskirts through binoculars. This is the closest you will ever get. December 5th, 1941. The Soviet counteroffensive begins. It hits with overwhelming force. Thousands of fresh troops surge forward. Tanks designed for winter conditions push through snow that traps your vehicles. The ground you fought so hard to take becomes impossible to hold. You issue orders to hold the line. Berlin demands it. No retreat, not one step back. But reality ignores orders. Your lines begin to break. Units collapse under pressure. Soldiers abandon positions, not because they lack courage, but because staying means freezing to death. You call for strategic withdrawal. Permission is denied. You argue, you push, you know what's coming. Encirclement, collapse, destruction. Eventually, limited withdrawals are allowed. But it's too late. Temperatures fall to -40 degrees. Men die in their sleep. Others wake up unable to move their fingers, their toes, their faces. Frostbite takes thousands. Not wounded, gone from the fight entirely. Vehicles cover the landscape, frozen, abandoned, silent. You are no longer advancing. You are trying to survive. If you find this kind of forgotten history as fascinating as we do, we'd be honored if you'd hit that subscribe button. We believe these stories of courage, sacrifice, and hard-earned lessons deserve to be told. And by subscribing, you help us ensure they aren't forgotten. And still, it continues. You try to regroup, to stabilize the front. But the Soviets keep coming. They understand something you didn't. Winter is not just a condition. It's a weapon.
And you walked directly into it. What no one in Berlin fully understood was that this moment would change everything. The failure to capture Moscow wasn't just a delay, it was the turning point. For the first time, the German army had been stopped completely. Not slowed, stopped. The consequences spread quickly. Soviet morale surged. The myth of German invincibility shattered. Across occupied Europe, resistance movements saw something new: hope. In Germany, the response was denial. Orders became stricter, control tightened, retreats were forbidden. But the reality couldn't be hidden. Germany had lost its momentum. Now it faced a long war against a nation with deeper reserves, harsher conditions, and the will to endure anything. Within a year, the disaster at the Battle of Stalingrad would follow. After that, there would be no coming back. All because one assumption proved catastrophically wrong: that winter wouldn't matter. Heinz Guderian survived the winter of 1941. He would continue to serve, watching as the war he helped shape slowly unraveled. But the men who followed him east, hundreds of thousands,
They froze in forests outside Moscow, in broken vehicles, in shallow trenches carved into frozen ground. Many weren't killed in battle. They were erased by the cold. Even today, when the snow melts in parts of Russia, remnants still appear. Rusted helmets, fragments of weapons, silent traces of an army that believed speed could outrun nature, and failed. Because this story isn't just about war. It's about what happens when arrogance replaces experience, when leaders ignore the lessons written by history, and why those lessons still matter. If this story moved you, please hit that like button. Every click tells the algorithm this piece of history is worth remembering. We're dedicated to rescuing these forgotten stories from the archives. If you want to join us on this mission, please subscribe and turn on notifications. Where are you watching from? Drop a comment with your city or state and tell us if someone in your family served. Thank you for ensuring that Heinz Guderian and the millions of soldiers who endured the winter of 1941 do not disappear into silence. They deserve to be remembered.